Jumping straight on into number 10, we have a very famous animal, frozen, right there in time. And also possibly the most expensive on this list, we have shark in formaldehyde. This shark is a work of art that actually has a way longer, more hipster name. Mr. Shark here also goes by the physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. The art piece was created by Damien Hirst in 1992 and sold some years later for $8 million. The shark is a tiger shark, and the one that you see today is actually frozen in time. The original shark was tossed out after a year because it wasn't preserved properly. Today's shark, Mr. Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living Mark II, came on the scene in 1993 and is a middle-aged female shark caught off the coast of Queensland in Australia. Coming in at number 9, we have 2 moose found frozen mid-fight. In November 2016, 2 moose were found frozen in a battle in an iced-over slough outside a remote village in Alaska. It is thought that the moose locked horns over a female, but then unfortunately got stuck together before the bad weather came and locked them in an eternal battle. The shocking discovery was made by middle school teacher Brad Webster, who took school director Jeff Erickson to the scene. Jeff, who had hunted for years, claimed that it was a surreal sight and a stark vision of how brutally harsh life can be. Okay, a spider isn't an animal technically, but this is making the list because it is so cool. Coming in at number 8, we have a 100 million year old spider. Yes, 100 million. Not only is this spider between 97 million to 100 million years old, it's actually in the middle of attacking a ruddy wasp. It's a scene. It's a literal fight scene captured forever in amber. The amber fossil was excavated from a Burmese mine and now resides in the Oregon State University. The amber chunk is truly fantastic as it captures the spider going at a tiny parasitic wasp. He was to be the spider's next meal, but unfortunately for the spider, he didn't know that actually he'd already consumed his final meal. Coming into number 7, we have a fox found frozen in a lake by an ice skater. In 2014, a skater on Lake Bunn in Sweden got a shock when he skated over a frozen dead fox. Now this fox was trapped beneath a layer of ice. 26-year-old Jeffer Sandstrom said, "From what I could see, the ice had obviously cracked and the fox had fallen through the hole. Unable to get out after scrabbling around, it must have tried to swim under the ice in a last-ditch effort to save itself." There it was, just under the ice, frozen fox. Coming in at number 6, we have a Dunkleosteus fossil. Okay, this animal may not be totally preserved in time, but you need to get a load of this horrifying fossil. Right here we have a Dunkleosteus, which is a huge turtle-faced fish with a pretty intense armored face skeleton. Because of the thickness of this fish's bones in the face, several head fossils have been found, giving us a true glimpse of this watery terror. The now extinct species have left fossils around the USA, Mexico, Poland, Belgium, and Morocco. And this fossil that you see right here is around 300 million years old. It's a face frozen in angry, bitey time forever. I actually would never want to see one of these because Coming in at number 5, we have a Ukiah bison. Discovered in 2011 in Ukiah in Siberia by a tribal community, this bison was radiocarbon dated back to 10,500 years ago. The bison is actually pretty well preserved. It's lost some of its hair, but its skin, teeth, horn, and hooves remain intact. 10,000-year hooves! The bison was found in a sleeping pose with no signs of injury, so experts believe that it died of natural causes. Coming in at number 4, we have a preserved cave lion. This is crazy. This 1-week-old cave lion cub is one of 2 found in 2015 in Russia's freezing north. The lions went extinct 11,000 years ago, and this cub could even date back further than that. The cubs were thought to have been crushed in a landslide, then buried in the ice for thousands of years. The cats found were so young, they were actually around the size of a fully grown house cat. The animal is so well preserved that researchers could tell that it had some of its mother's milk just before it died. Is it okay that I kind of find this lion carcass cute? Because, aw. Coming in at number 3, we have a 12,500-year-old puppy. This puppy was found with its teeth and brain still intact. And scientists in South Korea even want to clone it. So this dog was from the Pleistocene era and was found in the Sakha Republic of Russia in 2016. There's actually a video on YouTube of part of the puppy's autopsy too. Now this has had over 700,000 views. The juvenile dog's brain was still 80% intact, which is incredible. The dog was found near an area of known ancient human activity, leading researchers to question whether or not this dog was a pet. Coming in at number 2, this next image of a group of animals frozen in time is absolutely incredible. We have frozen carp caught in a wave forever. In the winter of 2015, this image was captured at Lake Anders in South Dakota. It's a frozen 4-foot wave with carp that froze to death practically mid-swim. It looks like they're jumping from the water, it's so sad. Finally, at number 1, we have a very well-preserved mammal, tens of thousands of years old. Another one that I find creepily cute. We have the yucca mammoth. This woolly mammoth was discovered in 2010 in Russia's Arctic Circle. Yucca dates back 39,000 years, which is incredible. The mammoth was 6 to 10 years old when it was killed, probably by a cave lion. Interestingly, the mammoth's tusks had not yet come through. Yucca is the best preserved ancient woolly mammoth that we've ever found. And I'm actually really, once again, finding the carcass cute. I don't know what's wrong with me. Woolly mammoth though. Aww. Coming in at number 10, we have this frog. Svein Nordrum was out skating on a frozen lake in Norway when he saw an object on the ice. On closer inspection, the object turned out to be a dead frozen frog. Svein captured this incredible picture of the frog and shared it with the world, and isn't it fantastic? Another instance of animals frozen in time in Norway at number 9, we have these swimming fish. An entire shoal of fish were found frozen off the coast of the Norwegian island Luvund. Now this all went down in 2014 when the photographer discovered a group of fish when they were out walking their dog. You can actually see the dog looking pretty excited about the whole thing in the picture. The ice was so thick that it could be walked on, although I think it made for a really weird frozen fish path. It is thought that the fish had been frozen for a week or longer. Also sadly found frozen in ice was this border collie, coming in to number 8. A man in Dawson's Creek, British Columbia, found a dog frozen into a block of ice in his front garden. Animal cruelty officers were alerted because it seemed like the 40-pound puppy had been attacked and then frozen in a bin of water. Like weird, extremely weird and really sad. Officers were not sure how long the dog had been dead, but hopefully it was all solved in the end because puppy. Okay, this next one is crazy and would definitely be at number 1 if we could get a clearer look at it. We have this 99 million year old baby bird trapped in amber. Yes, 99 million years old. Like, no big deal. The bird breed went extinct along with the dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period, but this newborn bird got itself stuck in sticky tree resin just days into its life. You can see the foot, claw and some feathers really well, but the head and the main wingspan are buried 3 inches thick in amber. From scanning this, scientists can tell that the bird is intact, making it the most complete fossil to be found in Burmese amber. Something a little more recent up next at number 6, we have a pickled elephant. By more recent I mean not 99 million years old, this one's just a cool 42,000 years old. This baby mammoth still actually had traces of her mother's milk in her stomach. Scientists think that the mammoth, found in Russia's Yamal Peninsula, died in a mudslide which preserved her. She's been called Luba, which means love in Russian, which is really sweet. I'm actually definitely weirding myself out by finding this carcass cute. Creepy. Way creepier at number 5, we have this plague rat. Can you imagine renovating your house and finding a plague-era rat mummified in your wall? Gross! That's right, this rodent dates back almost 700 years to the time of the Black Death. Found in Cornwall in 2014, the nearby area of Bodmin actually lost half its town residents to the plague. The rat was found curled up between a staircase in an old terrace house, and it's thought to have laid undisturbed since the mid-1300s. It's now in a local museum. Coming into number 4, we have this dog from Pompeii. Pompeii is an ancient Roman city that was met with huge tragedy almost 2,000 years ago in 79 AD. This all happened when a local volcano erupted, killing the city's residents. Dwellers living below the volcano were covered in its ash ash cloud, and temper, killing but preserving them. It wasn't just people either. Get a load of this dog. This is a plaster cast of a perfectly preserved dog corpse, almost 2,000 years old. The dog died in the chaos and was clearly a pet. Look at his collar. Almost 2,000 years ago, and this dog goes to show that man's best friend has been pretty consistent over the years. Another preserved Pompeii animal coming in at number 3, we have this Pompeii pig. This is again a plastered corpse. Pigs were kept as a food source in the Roman Empire. It's so interesting how we consider Pompeii a human tragedy when actually there were plenty of animals affected too. Mummification station up next. Plenty of animals on this list so far have been accidentally mummified, but what about those mummified on purpose? Coming into number 2, we have this mummified baboon. Baboons were actually very important to the Egyptians, who mummified things they wanted to take into the afterlife. Baboons were associated with the Egyptian god Thoth, the god of wisdom and learning. Finally, at number 1, a crazy case of Egyptian mummification, we have a crocodile. I don't know why I find this mummified crocodile hilarious. I guess it's because it looks like a crudely wrapped up crocodile present, just ready and waiting. Surprise! The Egyptians had a crocodile god, so this is why they preserved so many. They found them sitting on the banks of the Nile, and they just killed them and wrapped them up. Some of the Egyptian crocs remain wrapped, but others have been unwrapped, and they look incredible for being several thousands of years old. Wow!
A mammoth kicks things off in at number 10. Meet Yakka, a mummified woolly mammoth that is approximately 39,000 years old.
After thousands of years lying frozen in the ground, it's twisted and contorted. Now lying on its back, its head is flopped to one side, and its legs stick up in the air. Its foot pads and thick strawberry blonde hair are exquisitely preserved.
Yakka was found in 2010 in the Siberian permafrost, and it was believed that she was between 6 and 11 years old when she died. Scientists think that the mammoth fell into the body of water and wasn't able to free herself. Because of this, her lower body, including the lower jaw and the tongue, were preserved very well. But sadly, her upper torso and 2 legs were chewed off by other predators. But one of the coolest things about this frozen creature is that her brain is almost completely intact. This means that scientists can now study the woolly mammoth's brain in detail, and scientists were able to conclude that the mammoth's brain were very similar to the brains of elephants living today. Maybe they evolved into elephants. Yakka is being called the best preserved mammoth in the history of paleontology. So does this mean that we might be able to come close to cloning the woolly mammoth and bring this animal back to life? I mean, I'm so down for this. It would be so cool. Well, just as long as they don't like the taste of human flesh, then you know what, we're all good. Hopefully they're just vegetarians. A creepy puppy brings us to number 9. Back in 2005, the mummified remains of an ancient puppy were discovered in a remote location in Russia. What is it with creepy frozen animals being found in Russia? When I did research for this, a lot of them were found in Russia. I'm actually concerned. Well, these remains are estimated to be approximately 12,500 years old. Researchers are pretty confident that this unusual creature was kept as pets and they weren't wolves. The cause of death is believed to have been from a sudden landslide, and the strange looking puppy is actually a Pleistocene canid. And this guy was very well preserved because he was frozen for over 12,000 years. Scientists were able to thaw the carcass out, and they're able to perform a detailed autopsy. The body was found 70 to 80% intact, which is extremely exciting for scientists because this is the first time that they can study the brain of this creature. Should we add this puppy to the list of extinct creatures that we want to bring back to life? Or should we listen to nature and keep these things in the past? The Yakka a bison, charges into number 8. Hidden away under frozen ground for nearly 10,000 years, members of the Yakka tribe in northern Siberia, they've discovered the remains of a steppe bison. The almost perfectly preserved bison was transported to a research facility where scientists performed an autopsy on the mummified remains. Other steppe bison mummies have been found before, but none of them are as well preserved as this one. His internal organs were almost completely intact, and normally you would just find a carcass that was partly eaten or destroyed, and that's because of the permafrost. The bison was found in a sleeping position with no signs of injury, so scientists believe that he died from natural causes. DNA analysis will help us to better understand how this bison differs from our modern North American bison that are currently living today. It's actually so amazing that these creatures were found like this, because otherwise we can only speculate about what happened in the past. But now we have way more insight sight than ever before, especially with all the technology that we have. Cave lions breaks onto our list at number 7. Paleontologists working in Russia, of course we're talking about Russia again, well they found 2 preserved frozen cave lion cubs, and this is probably one of the most complete remains of the species ever to be found. Just take a look at them. This is absolutely insane. Because of how well preserved they are, researchers were able to shed some amazing details about their life and death. These lion cubs were twins, but sadly they died at a very young age. Their death was probably due to the cold, but it could have also been from their caves collapsing. So it's pretty much a miracle that their bodies are still intact, considering that they lived more than 20,000 years ago. What we do know is that these lions were extremely ferocious, and their species was the largest lion in existence. Scientists say that they used to feed on deer, horses, or even men. Well, and women. But for some unknown reason, they were extinct. But thanks to these young cubs, we might get to learn more about these creatures than ever before. And actually, a team of scientists have tried to clone these extinct lions and bring them back to life. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. They sound like they could wipe out the human population. If we clone them, let's not make too many of them. Maybe just make males so they can't reproduce. Does that mean? I don't know. Maybe we just leave it in the past. Maybe some things are just better left, just untampered with. The Colima woolly rhinoceros brings us to number 6. In 2007, gold miners discovered the well-preserved frozen remains of a female woolly rhino at the opening of a gold mine. This is actually the first time that they discovered the whole body of the woolly rhino in the permafrost. I mean, whoa! Try to say that sentence 3 times fast. The whole body of the woolly rhino, the whole body of the I can't do it. Okay, anyways, the scientists who studied this mummified carcass said that it probably weighed around 1.5 tons, had thick brown fur and skin, and it lived approximately 39,000 years ago, which is actually pretty recent if you think about it, if you put it into comparison of yeah, the world is pretty old. Most of its internal organs were lost except for its intestines, stomach, and its contents. I mean, pretty gross, but I wonder what they found in his stomach. Actually, maybe I don't, because I'm just about to have lunch after I film this video, and I don't want to see no human inside. Maybe a little rat or something, or a cockroach. I hate cockroach. The mysterious tardigrade comes onto our list at number 5. Okay, first of all, I'm just gonna go right out and say, I think these creatures might take over the world one day, or if humans destroy the earth, these things will be the only living creatures left on the planet. Tardigrades are one of Earth's greatest mysteries. People are even speculating that these things aren't even from our planet.
Some species of tardigrade can survive inside a vacuum and have even survived in outer space, where they're exposed to both a vacuum and solar radiation.
They're probably the most resilient organisms known to mankind. They were first discovered in 1773, and scientists have been collecting them from chunks of ice from Antarctica. Also from mud volcanoes on the bottom of the ocean, rainforests, and even in Earth's upper atmosphere. These guys are everywhere. Where are they not? These things can survive asteroid impacts, supernova blasts, and gamma ray bursts. I can't even survive not eating for 3 hours. At that point, I'm almost dead. I'm not sure how we know this, or did we test it somehow? I mean, how did we know that they can actually survive all of this? They can survive extreme cold, hot temperatures. They can take hundreds of times more radiation than humans can. They can appear dead for as long as 30 years, and they will shrink to about 3% of their size. And wait, get this. They will revive themselves, rehydrate, and regain their strength to make more tardigrades. This is absolutely insane. I don't get it. But you know what? These creatures might actually take over one day. And you heard it here first. Now at number 4, we have a body frozen in ice that was curing the smallpox disease. This sounds like the beginning of a terrible horror movie, except this is real life. The body was discovered in Siberia, of course, and it nearly caused a fatal outbreak. The body was found in a Siberian river, and it was still carrying the smallpox disease. Fortunately for us, the people in charge of its discovery, they were very careful and no outbreaks happened. But just when you thought you were safe, there could be way more corpses that are frozen in Siberia, but due to the melting permafrost, the virus could be released and we can have a worldwide epidemic on our hands. If that's the case, up to 30% of people who catch it will die. Not to scare you or anything, but climate change is real, no matter what Donald Trump thinks. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm staying far away from Siberia. Next up on this creepy list, in at number 3, we have a mummified dinosaur. Now this would be something I'd contemplate bringing back. Probably a bad idea.
They spent the next 6 years working on uncovering the beast within the 1,100 kilograms lump of earth. According to the museum, it is the best preserved armored dinosaur in the world, including skin and armor, and is complete from the snout to hips.
A museum in Alberta, Canada unveiled a dinosaur so well preserved that many people are saying it's not a fossil at all. It's actually a dinosaur mummy. Researchers are shocked that they were able to find a dinosaur with its skin, armor, and even some of his guts still intact. This mummified dinosaur is so intact that it still weighs 2,500 pounds. Scientists are saying that when this dinosaur was alive, he was an enormous four-legged herbivore that was protected by a spiky plated armor. This is probably the closest thing to a real-life dinosaur that the world has ever seen. I've actually been to Alberta and I've been to the museum and I was able to see it and it was remarkable. It was unbelievable. And at number 2 we have Otzi the Iceman.
Frozen for more than 5,000 years on a remote mountain pass, and now preserved for the ages in a refrigerated tomb. He is the Iceman, a frozen relic from the Stone Age, the oldest intact human body ever found. He's a messenger from the past, bearing secrets of how humans lived, nearly 1,000 years before the pyramids.
In 1991, hikers stumbled upon a body that was melting out of a glacier. At first they thought that it was a missing person who got lost during a hike, but they were very wrong. It was revealed that this body was actually the mummified remains of a human that dates back 5,300 years ago. It looks like he was murdered by an arrow in the back, and researchers knew that he had discovered something huge. He was nicknamed Otzi the Iceman, and he was around 40 to 50 years old when he died. He's actually one of the best researched humans in the world, and because of this we were able to learn so much about humans and how they used to live in that time period. The perfectly preserved woman in ice tops our list at number 1. Okay guys, it's time to brace yourselves. This woman's completely frozen in ice, and that may not seem that disturbing at first, but trust me, things are about to get pretty intense. The Icana mummy was found over 20,000 feet above sea level, and it was found on the edge of a volcano.
An Inca girl, buried 500 years ago on top of a volcano. Her corpse is strange. Seated and slumped, she looks like she slept to her death.
Her body was found with other human remains, and scientists think that she was accompanied by her children. It is said that she was so well preserved that she still had lice in her hair. Is this real life right now? The doctor who did examine her were apparently so freaked out by the whole situation because she looked like that she could still be alive. She was only a teenager when she died more than 500 years ago, but it is said that she was a sacrifice during a ritual. The woman and her children were left on the cold mountaintop as an offering to the gods, and now she's being put on display at a museum in Argentina.